Does he what?
We were waiting for me to finish making copies mostly. So I want to welcome everyone. And I do want, before we take attendance, I do want to let the viewing audience know I was notified ahead of time that Mayor Nichols will be late. She had a engagement with a swearing in to take care of, so she will be by a little bit later, and because she is on the agenda later on this afternoon. With that being said, all members of the committee are here, and we can go ahead and get started with our meeting. So one thing that I did want to note is on the agenda, I have, under the consent agenda, approved the agenda for this meeting and approved previous meeting minutes. I have April 13 minutes, and I have to issue an apology to the committee. The April minutes were not in your digital packet. That was a complete mistake on my part. I think they're there now. If not, I apologize again. But I did receive them it was early part of May. Ms. Chichester did give me the draft minutes. I just put them in the wrong folder. So these things do happen. So I do not have May minutes, and April 13 minutes you only just received 5 seconds ago. So if everyone is okay, we can defer these minutes until our next meeting, so that way everyone has a chance to take a look at them and make sure that they're accurate.
I'm sending you Mays now. My apologies.
Oh, no, you're fine.
I drafted it and forgot to hit send.
Okay.
Too many emails.
All right. So we'll have both of these then deferred to the July meeting.
You going to defer to April too, or you want to go ahead and?
Defer April as well, yeah, because
We
they
not
didn't
in the
see them until today, so
Okay.
10 seconds ago, literally, or maybe an hour, depending. And that, like I said, that was entirely my fault, because you sent that in plenty of time.
Just hold on. Defer to June. No, this is June.
Defer to July. Okay. And does anyone have anything to adjust for the agenda for this meeting?
Madam President.
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to defer to our July meeting, the Public Information Officer proposal,
Okay.
4D.
D is going to July too.
4D, item 4D is going to July. Anything else?
I feel like there was something on here that needed to be.
I feel like we need holding music when one of us is thinking.
Nope, we're good. We're good. We're good. We're good. We're good.
Okay, it's good.
We're good.
All right. So with those two adjustments, we're going to defer minutes to July. We're going to defer item 4D, which is the proposed public information officer position. With that, we'll go ahead and move on with the agenda without any further objection. Okay. So the first thing that we have is public comment, and I see there's one audience member here. Is there anything that the audience member might like to say and pertains to public policy? Not at this point. Thank you. All right. Moving on, item 4A was submitted by Ms. Zorb, and I'm embarrassed to say 4 months ago, but we've had quite a backlog that we've been trying to get through. So she asked me to put on the agenda a review of our junk cars ordinances. And I will turn the floor over to her because it's been so long, I don't remember why we were going to discuss this topic. So take it away.
Thank you. And I understand why it's been, this meeting has been crazy with agenda items, so, and this wasn't urgent, so I'm okay with this being postponed until now. But the main thing that I wanted to address is that I don't know how often anyone drives around North College Hill, but there seems to be, in my opinion, and I don't know because I don't live in those households, but there seems to be a lot of what on the outward appearance seems to be a lot of junk cars sitting in driveways and backyards and sometimes on the street. So I also have experienced from our legal folks that I have been told that some of our junk car ordinances are not enforceable. So what I would like to do is maybe, pardon me, I am fighting a summer cold, so forgive me too. What perhaps this committee could do is come up with some guidelines that we would like to see enforced, and then send them to our law director so that he could create the codified ordinance that is enforceable, that is able to be upheld in the court of law.
Madam Chair.
No, you can go ahead. As long as there's not chaos with speaking, I'm okay with this just being a committee meeting and we don't have to ask for the floor every 5 seconds. It'll go a lot faster that way, I promise.
Great, thank you, I appreciate that. What part of the codified ordinance for junk cars is believed to be unenforceable?
So I looked for the email, it was years ago, so I'm not sure. I looked for it, I couldn't find it. There was a time when we had a different email server, and I think some of my old emails kind of went to the wayside of that. I don't know specifically, so I apologize. I do not have that answer.
Ms. Dukestein, is there anything that our code enforcer is doing to enforce our codified ordinance for junk car removal?
Yes, he's given the same kind of notice of violation. They have a certain amount of time that they have to remove the car, and then I believe we tow. I was actually looking it up as she was speaking to try to understand where the non-enforceable space is, but I'm sure what she's saying is probably true, because we were running into that in a lot of spaces where the things that we've put in place have not aligned with Ohio Revised Code, and so then we cannot enforce those things. So I was just kind of looking up both, but I do know that he gives a notice of violation, and from there they are expected to remediate the junk car, either get it moving, it has to have proper tags. I know that, whether it's sitting in your driveway or not, it has to be running, it has to be moved, and so getting those steps, sending it over to our NRO if it is not remediated, and then getting it in front of our magistrate. Now, where it goes from there, that's the enforceable space that I'm not sure, and I'm not sure if we can tow on private property.
But from Mr. Wallace's standpoint, he's actually given the violation warnings and enforcements. Okay.
So for the record, it's chapter 1194 in our codified ordinances, and it's called junk motor vehicles and parts / abandoned vehicles. And there's a definition here, and the definition of a junk motor vehicle means a motor vehicle, a boat, or a motor home that is apparently inoperable, and that's maybe the key word, apparently inoperable. Extensively damaged, including but not limited to any of the following: deflated, wrecked, missing tires or wheels, missing or wrecked body parts, broken or missing headlights, taillights, brake lights, broken or cracked or missing windows or windshields, missing all or part of the motor or transmission, missing or invalid license plates. And I guess that's kind of where Ms. Dukestein was going, is it does have to have valid license plates, even if it's sitting in your driveway.
Does that also apply to a vehicle parked on a public street? So when we're moving out of the space, right, what I'm saying is that our code enforcer, Mr. Wallace, that would then become part of our PD.
And yes, and so if it's on their property, then it's Mr. Wallace.
Right.
If it's on the street, then it's the police.
So
two different jurisdictions.
Yeah.
And I have a follow-up to this. It's important, I think, for the viewing public to understand that these ordinances were originally passed in 2017. So it is probably time for a review. And I do notice that there is a provision for impounding, but that is specifically abandoned upon public property or upon public streets or in the right-of-way. So if it's technically on private property, I think that might be where the gap is. So we need to, what do you, so you're suggesting that we refer this to Mr. Dieters for alignment with Ohio Revised Code. Are you?
Maybe not ORC.
Are you able to maybe benchmark what some other cities are doing, or have you?
I could. I have not done that.
Okay, I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not instructing you. I can't do that, but.
Well, I would like to even point out and I'm sorry to cut
No,
you
you're
off,
fine.
but in section 1194.08, it talks about leaving junk vehicles on private or public property without permission or notification. And the reason I bring that one up is because I live 2 blocks away from the bars on Savannah, and I have come home before to a stranger being parked in my driveway. But according to this, I have to wait 24 hours before I can have them towed out of my driveway? Come on. That's, in my opinion, that's not acceptable.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
So, Ms. Zorb, the 119408, leaving junk vehicles, are the vehicles junk? Because I think if they don't have permission to be in your driveway, you can get them out immediately.
I would hope so.
This is junk motor vehicles and abandoned vehicles. Okay, at the top of it says abandoned vehicles.
Yes.
But the abandonment is at 119403. Oh, I see. In 24 hours.
Okay, so what I'm seeing is that there's definitely some opportunity for improvement here.
In my opinion, there is.
Yes. Okay, so do you want to take this action item to talk to Mr. Dieters, or would you like me to?
I can. Or,
Okay.
I mean, I don't want to kind of take over.
Absolutely not.
I'd like
no.
it to be
But your head's in this space a little bit more than maybe mine is, or some of the others. So, in my opinion, a committee is a working team of equals with someone facilitating the meeting. So if you feel that, that if you want to take this on and work with him on this and then come back to council at a later date with maybe some updates or some revisions, I think that would be great.
Okay.
And we can 100% come back to this.
May I ask a question of the committee? Are there any items in here that you are okay with that I should not, using the term touch, that I should not alter?
I think there might be a little bit of a gray area for those who, just thinking of a couple of neighbors who are retired, who have vintage cars in their driveways, not stored in their garages. These are not their everyday cars, and so I don't want those to be considered junked or abandoned. This is just their, those old school classic cars. So
The chances are pretty good that those are operable,
But
and they
it's not.
probably have valid license plates on them.
True, but how do you define operable if you don't see them driving it?
I would think when the code enforcement officer goes to their door, they would crank it up and.
I would think so, but what if he comes when they're not home, or what if he misses them? I just want to maybe eliminate that gray area for those who are not in violation. I think we just wanted to clearly define that, maybe drill down a little bit more on what is considered an abandoned vehicle. And there are residents who have the old school classic vehicles that do not drive daily,
Madam Chair.
and they're in their driveways.
Yes, go ahead.
Per this Ohio Revised Code, an abandoned vehicle in private is not private property, like it would not be the owner, and a license, a valid license, driver's tags on that vehicle would distinguish it not to be abandoned if the person has given permission for that person to be in the driveway. And then the limitations for it not to be left on private property cannot be more than 72 hours without the permission of the person entitled to the possession of that property.
Okay, so I heard a couple things. If the vehicle itself is physically located on someone's premises, I think we're talking about a couple different things. If it's on a public property and it's got weeds growing up between the wheels, I'm pretty, that is the jurisdiction right away. This ordinance allows our PD to go ahead and impound that vehicle after, I don't know if they put it like an orange, how on the highway you see like the orange stickers or whatever it is on the car. It's like move your car or else. So I don't know if that's something that this is allowed to, if this ordinance allows us to do that, to say, okay, we're going to sticker your car, and if it's not moved, just like if it's abandoned on the highway, we're going to come tow it, and you're going to have to come get it. That's public property. That is like city parking lots or city streets or things like that. In terms of private property, I totally understand if somebody has abandoned their property on your premises and you don't want it there, that needs to be buttoned up. And I do also hear the historical vehicle. Perhaps that is a provision that could be considered for 1194.07 exceptions for historical vehicles. Typically, true historical vehicles have some kind of a special tag
They have
for
historical
them.
license plates.
Yeah, so
E20
maybe that
or
needs to be explored and specifically called out here, just to avoid any future confusion. So is there anything I'm missing here?
There was one more area, and I think there's a clear definition, no gray. In 1194.06, the final sentence, after it says that the police chief can either designate someone, it shall be impounded and disposed of. I'm not sure what that means. Are we?
I can actually speak to that.
Okay.
That's funny because I did that one. Not, I didn't do it, but I'm familiar with the process because when I worked in the admin office and the finance office, so it's not easy, for police to dispose of someone's property. There is a very robust process for that. But when that does happen, there are, with the vehicles, and I'm not sure if we're still doing it this way, but they used to go to basically at auction to some place that disposes of vehicles, and it's like a salvage title or something like that they issue as a salvage title. It goes there and it's gone. But then you might have more information on how the mechanics work now, but at a very high level, that's what happens.
Yes.
It's considered an abandoned vehicle. There's a court process to go. We have to get a salvage title. Then the city will dispose of that vehicle via a sale or a municipal auction or something like that to dispose of the vehicle.
They can also assume ownership. So we've had a couple of vehicles.
Oh, like civil asset forture.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. I knew there was another way, but that's one thing as well. If we decide, hey, this is a good vehicle, we want to use it. So,
And
yeah.
is there a redemption process? Because of course, we don't want to permit our city to be open to junk vehicles. We want to tighten that down, but I do believe that in the event there is a vehicle that gets abandoned and they want to actually redeem their vehicle back, I don't see that process in here unless that is outlined with code and PD.
Madam Chair.
Mhm.
I think it's denoted in the Ohio Revised Code. I'm not sure if it's specifically in Ordinance 10, but I would, just based on what I know to be true, we honored that, and it's probably in Ordinance 10 because it's referenced multiple times.
Madam, I'm sorry. Ms. Dukesty, I was going to say that I believe 10 2017 is the date that we passed this ordinance. So I think what we need is perhaps the exact cross-reference to the specific ORC chapter that deals with disposition of property that's been impounded. And the way this is wording it is confusing. So, but I think in this section, we probably want to refer to the exact ORC, that's the cross-reference, so that we can, if we have these kind of questions come up, we right away can say, oh, we're going to go there, and that's where we should be looking for further information.
So what, I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
Mm-hmm.
There's another reference, ORC 451363.
There we go.
So
That's what I mean. Yep,
Mhm.
we need
And
it up
then-
there too.
reading that one, it does not give the outline for redemption. However, I know this for sure. We cannot set our own laws to allow people to redeem their vehicles. That happens at the state level. So we would not be able to set an ordinance about that. Just some things are handled at the state level, some things are handled at the municipal level. And I know that the state governs that with police officers and forfeitures and all of that.
Okay, so I think what we need is a deeper dive into the ORC and where can we cross-reference and where do we have some wiggle room locally to help get some junk cars off our streets. Because there's other municipalities that don't seem to have this problem. So and Ms. Zorb, it'd be great if you could take that homework item and,
Absolutely, thank you.
mhm. Alrighty,
Madam Chair,
yes,
I'm sorry, I just want to give Ms. Zorb this. It's ORC 4513.
Yes, I'm
Okay.
there, thank you.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
ORC 4513.16, Section D.
Thank you.
and just for the audience's information, I had also pulled a couple other ordinances related to nuisances that seemed to be related, but not specific to junk vehicles. That was in the packet, but it's not on the agenda, just for reference of the committee. All right. So I'm really glad that we have lots of time left to talk about this next one. So a couple meetings back, there was a draft ordinance proposed to the committee regarding, and I will read this because this is still in committee, it has not been to council floor, ordinance requiring candidates for elected office and individuals holding elected office in the city of North College Hill to be current on all municipal income tax obligations owed to the city. And there was, I'm going to call it version A, provided to this committee in April to begin discussion. And in our last meeting, I took the action item to work with Ms. Stevens-Knott to try to figure out how does this align with our audit findings, if that's what the issue was, or what do we need to do with this? Because there were some concerns, number one, with how it was written in the first place. Not that it was bad, it's just difficult to understand what's going on here. So I talked to Ms. Stevens-Knott, and after reading this thoroughly, and we came to I'm not going to say agreement, that's not the right word, but we came to an understanding that this probably fits better in the city's existing ethics code. And when I did more homework on this, part of the provisions of the original legislation were not only to provide a mechanism for penalties or discipline to elected officers, but also to prevent them from running for office if they were behind or not current is wording that was used here, not current. Not current is very gray, and we all kind of agreed with that. So, you know, where I landed in my research and in looking at how some other municipalities handle this, I hate to say it, but most of the time it's in the charter, because the charter controls qualifications for office. And since our charter cannot be modified right now, we're not in the right cycle for that. I did look through the charter, my goodness, with a fine-tooth comb, and found a provision, where is it? Chapter 1401 of the charter, which basically prohibits conflicts of interest while in office. And it's not limited to elected office. And I also did some further research, and essentially speaking, Ohio Ethics Code that applies to anyone with basically fiduciary responsibility within a municipality prevents conflicts of interest, particularly when you have a financial interest in a matter before the city. And where the dots get connected, because all these things are already there, they're just kind of here, here, and here, and they're not really kind of coming together in a single policy that a city could use. So where I went with this, and I did send this to Ms. Stevens-Knott and Mr. Dieters as to form, was let's connect these dots. Let's update our existing ethics code for the city of North College Hill, specifically to call out if you have delinquent municipal taxes. And delinquency is a specific word. That's not just I'm 2 weeks late. We're in the point now where we're levying penalties. And I also had some concerns with some of the original language that referred to 60 days or this many days or do this form or that form. We already have an extremely robust tax code on the books. I don't think that we should try to duplicate that here, because as soon as we do, we're going to get out of sync. And we don't want that. So if we're going to, and I completely agree, it is an inherent conflict of interest if you are in charge of tax policy and you are behind on your taxes to the point where you're delinquent. And we're talking about penalties. And that's a very specific trigger. However, there are other individuals and offices within the city besides elected officials who are responsible for tax policy. And those are some of the officials that I added in the modified language that I presented for the consideration of this committee. So what I have here for the viewing audience is an unreviewed draft. I'm going to make that very clear. This has not been officially reviewed. This is an unreviewed draft of an ordinance amending Chapter 109 Ethics Code of the City of North College Hill to declare municipal income tax delinquency a prohibited conflict of interest. And there's a lot of detail here in the draft code language, and I did benchmark some cities here. Again, most of the time it's in the charter, but we don't have that option here, at least not until 2030. So, but be that as it may, there is also a section that's like, okay, well, if someone can't be on the ballot, how are we going to be able to manage that? You know, here, we don't. The Board of Elections manages that, and the first thing they're going to do is look for our code. So it's got to be in the code. It's got to be in codified ordinances. So when you turn in your petitions, they go through a process where they first submit that your petitions are correct and accurate, but then they also see other local qualifications that you have to meet in order to be able to be on the ballot. And so that's where this comes in. If you are delinquent, you are not qualified because you have a prohibited conflict of interest according to the charter. And that's kind of where my head was at with the direction that I went with this revised legislation. It's a little bit more concise. It doesn't attempt to duplicate the tax code. And the trigger is, are you delinquent? And it's uncured delinquency. So you could be in a payment plan and be fine, you know. So it's an uncured delinquency is where we are. So that was where my head was at, and I want to hear from the committee if they have any thoughts.
I have a question right off the bat.
Yes.
And I apologize, I have not read through this yet. So because I agree the whole Board of Elections piece is a little sticky wicket in there. So how would the Board of Elections know that someone was delinquent.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
the Board of Elections, they know our charter very well. Whenever
But that's
I-
not the charter part. I'm talking about the delinquency. That wouldn't be listed on the charter. That
No, it wouldn't be listed, but if it's a parameter that is required, they're required to make sure that that potential elected official or person running for election would qualify. In our charter, it literally says.
So my point is the Board of Elections calling someone at this city, or are they calling Rita to know if someone is delinquent?
That's a great question. And I tried to address that under paragraph G, the candidate disqualification clause. And that is something that one of us would need to follow up with the Board of Elections and say, how are you notified? Because I'm sure all these cities have weird stuff, that on their books, right? How do you keep track of it all? Is there a notification process? But at the end of the day, the thing I had written in here, the Hamilton County Board of Elections or other official certifying body, such as the Civil Service Commission, is expressly authorized to verify compliance with this requirement with the city tax administrator by requesting a certified copy of the taxpayer's compliance certificate. My goodness, that's a tongue twister when you try to say it out loud. And there's other things in here that talk about the certificate and what that looks like and what, but the idea is to protect confidential taxpayer information, but at the same time, and one thing in the original legislation, I'm going to call this out for people too. I'm doing a lot of talking. I don't mean to. I do want to hear from the committee. Is I don't like codifying forms. Because as soon as you want to change one thing, we got to go back to council and get it approved again. So if it's a form that is compliant with the requirements of our auditors or whoever, I don't think that council needs to micromanage what's on a form, which is what was in the original piece of legislation. That is an administrative function as far as I'm concerned. And the committee may disagree. But anyway, that's what I was trying to capture there is, because I thought about that exact same question. Like, all right, I'm running for office. How are they going to know? What's the procedure? So that's a great question. I want to hear. I do want to hear from the committee.
Madam President, what about the tax commission that's outlined in the charter? Because they handle those things.
They handle appeals.
They do handle appeals, but in this circumstance, this would be whoever questioning whether the validity of that what is already supposed to be in compliance is functioning as it should be.
I would imagine that if there's a taxpayer who does not like the decision of the tax administrator, they would appeal to the Earnings Tax Board of Appeals, and I did have that in here under Section D. That is in the charter. I don't know what the administrative process is for that, but under any circumstance, and that's also when someone comes to verify, are they delinquent? The tax administrator would say, there is an appeal pending. That's something they could say.
So are you prohibited to run during an appeal? And again, I haven't read through this whole thing, because timing is
There's some
also a
examples at the
factor.
end that go through some of these scenarios.
I need to read from before I ask my question, sorry.
I lost a lot of sleep over this.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I think it goes back to your original statement that any legislative or administrative role in the city, even a city employee, we just want to be good examples and good stewards, right? So I don't think that, of course, we want to make sure for our future selves that we tie this down really good so there are no questions and no gray areas. But for the right now, I do believe that it is important that those matters are addressed expeditiously. And I think we have a little bit of time. I am a little bit cautious, though. I don't want us to rush anything. Our next election is not until 27 for this city. So I don't want us to rush something haphazardly and then have to come back and review it in 6 months or a year. I
Agreed.
think that we just need to make sure that we fine tooth comb this, talk to the tax administration, talk with our law director, and talk to even Rita, have them a part of this conversation.
The Board of Elections.
And the Board of Elections to see how we can make sure that we present this best piece of legislation.
Ms. Chichester, do you have anything? I know you're furiously taking notes over there. I know it's hard to participate in a meeting and take notes at the same time. So,
I'm just listening.
okay, so here's.
I have another quick question.
Sure,
sorry.
absolutely.
So, in your research, did you talk to the BOE at all?
Not yet. Like I said, I was mainly trying to get this buttoned up so I could present it today.
I only asked
Yeah.
because every time I have asked them a question, they have always referred me back to our law director. What does your law director say? And I'm like,
Right. And so this is on his desk.
it's on the law director's desk.
Yes, but I asked him to review it as to form. I will ask him also to review it as to content. But right now, I just want to make sure is this how this should be structured, if we're going to go down this path of modifying our codified ordinances. Because there really wasn't any time to dig into the weeds. You can see the date on here is June 4. That was what, Tuesday? Or what was it, Saturday? I don't even know what day it is. What day is today? Okay, so, but I would not imagine that he has had any time whatsoever to kind of dig into this in any kind of detail, but I will follow up with him. And that's a great point, because this is a big deal if we're modifying our codified ordinances. So I want to make sure we're doing it right. All right, so what is our next steps? Are we all going to read through this and highlight and pick it apart and tear it to pieces, because that's what we need in this committee? That's our job.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I do see in here the kind of framework around someone potentially running for office and employees. But what about people who are and this could be employees as well, who are existing in spaces where they're delinquent?
That's a great question. Paragraph F is consequences for current officials. Hopefully, I at least stubbed some things in there. So essentially, an uncured municipal income tax delinquency may be ruled a violation of local, state, or federal codes of ethics as a conflict of interest. It may be considered malfeasance or misconduct in office by the governing body as a matter of public record. Consequences may include formal censure by the governing body, loss of fiduciary functions, including the right to vote or participate in formal proceedings, affecting their personal tax burden, loss of leadership positions, expulsion, recall, or removal from office, or referral to local, state, or federal authorities for further investigation or criminal prosecution. Failure to pay taxes is a crime. So if it gets to that point, but that's it, and it's a laundry list of all possible whatever that I could think of and that I could benchmark. But again, if you're currently in office, like I said, if you're sworn in and you're here and we find out that in 2019, through 2021, you didn't pay taxes, right? That's got to be cured. And there's plenty of wiggle room even in our current tax code. I don't want to say wiggle room, but there's grace built into the process to allow you to make that current already. So that's another reason I didn't want to duplicate that in a new legislation. We don't have to. I don't want to have to. Our tax code is very robust.
My
Yeah.
caution in that was going to be that I know specifically some municipalities who kicked off some of their elected officials based on not having current taxes, and they were reinstated because it was not considered ethical by Ohio Revised Code. So I just want to make sure that we focus on making sure that we handle this right.
Absolutely.
Like digging into it and doing what was right.
And that's kind of where I went in the direction of it's a personal financial interest in a matter of the city. So that's kind of where I went where I went down that path. But again, we do need to confirm with our law director, with the Board of Elections, and making sure we're doing this right. But there's multiple municipalities who do have disqualifying, we just can't modify our charter for 5 years, but I really think it belongs in ethics, to be honest with you. It's an ethical issue.
It is.
You know, that's my opinion. All right, so I have homework on this one. If anybody thinks of anything in the meantime, please contact me so that I can follow up at our next July meeting. I will not respond because that might constitute a meeting. But if you have,
Not between two people, it does not.
if it's 2 people and then 2 people and then 2 people about the same topic,
Yes.
that's where the problem is.
Yep.
That's the
But That's
problem.
not 2 people,
So, yeah.
because now that's 4 people.
Now there's 4 people, right. So, yeah, I think I'll take on some homework. I will try to get some research done with our law director and with the certifying bodies, I'm going to call them, and come back. Are we okay with coming back to this in July? Is there any urgency or time sensitivity with this, Ms. Dickstein, in terms of an audit or anything like that?
No, we're
Okay.
just trying to be compliant and do what's right.
Okay. I just want to make sure I'm not kicking a can down the road that we need to deal with sooner rather than later. Okay. Me on this one. Okay. All right, so since Mayor Nichols is here, and we have about 15 minutes left, I'm going to go ahead, if it's okay with the committee, I'm going to skip ahead. I'm going to skip acceptable use of AI. We can defer to July. And then I would like to, Mayor Nichols had asked to give us an update on the public.
Just one moment.
Sure.
So we skipping C, D, and moving to 5A.
Yes.
So we're skipping E too as well.
Well, E is just notification.
That's House Bill.
E is just to say that we're relieved from further consideration of these things.
But I'll find it. Hold on.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to clarify with her. We did receive an email, and it was talking about municipalities making sure that they had something in place by, when you said the AI, that's what triggered it. It was
Oh, the
like
AI.
a July,
Oh, boy.
I want to feel like it said July 18th, but I can't
It
remember.
is.
That's
It's actually July the 1st.
July
July
1st.
1st?
They were
You have
saying
to have
that,
this done by the 1st.
they were saying that municipalities needed to have something.
Special meeting, guys. Guess what?
Who was it?
It's as of July 1st, 2026, HB 96 compliance deadline approaches. We want to send out one final reminder regarding key areas that is likely to receive an audit attention under ORC 9.64, and that is included in there, which is why I was kind of talking about it, and it's kind of hit the world beyond just North College Hill.
If we are diligently making progress on this, I'm hoping that won't get us into too much trouble, because honestly, I don't think July 1's realistic, but it's at least not in terms of legislation.
And
I
that was
was-
from the auditor.
It was from the auditor,
So-
and I will say that every other benchmark that the city has had from an administrative standpoint, we have met. We're in the right space.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, Madam Chair, I just wanted, when you said that, it triggered it for me, and I remembered the date.
No, you're
So I just
perfectly
wanted to
fine.
let
I
you
was not
guys
aware
know.
that was
that date.
looming on
Okay.
the horizon. Is there any way that would you be okay with sending that notification to me? That way I can keep it in front of my face, because if it's not in front of my face, it doesn't exist.
Or
Sorry.
maybe even if a reach out, so that they'll know it's something that's being worked on, so they won't just.
I mean, we've
think
already
we're-
started benchmarking, and we're already starting to kind of think about how we want to draft this. We just haven't had any time to
Yeah,
dig into it in this committee, which is where it belongs.
I just don't want them to think that we're ignoring it. So
Exactly.
if we reach out and say, hey, we got it, we're working on it, so,
Exactly. Okay.
so.
All right. Without further ado, do you want to dive into Records Commission?
It's not a huge, sure, but it's not a huge dive. Of course, we always like to try to keep up with what the Ohio retention laws are. And so we have in our report, it just says who the members are. For those of you who don't know, the charter states that it's the mayor, the law director, the finance manager, and a citizen. And our citizen is Mr. Bentori, who he's here. So it's Mr. Bentor. The purpose, which is stated in our charter again, is section 10.05, the Records Commission. The Records Commission shall periodically review the types and locations of official city records to ensure that they are being processed and preserved according to the relative state statutes. Additionally, in accordance with state statutes, the Records Commission is responsible for the proper retention and disposal of records of the city. Now, I'll stay right there because that part is like within the charter. One of the issues that we're running into is where some of our files are currently located. So we talked about a little bit whether or not we should use the same format as council did, but ours, we really can't. You have resumes, you have contracts, and you have to keep those for so long. And so we do dispose of those at the appropriate time, but you have to keep them for so long. Those type of things are held in our human resources financial department. They have wherever they put it in their special files. Those things we typically, I don't know that they are all electronic, just because of and they're in fireproof cabinets. So things such as that. Another thing that we keep up with is legislation as well. I did find out maybe a couple of weeks ago that we were not getting all of the legislation that way. Many years ago, we would get copies of the legislation and kept it in like administration. That administrative office had their own copies of ordinances, resolutions, and minutes. I don't think that is currently happening now. So I think those are just all being maintained by the clerk. When I was the clerk, part of the process was to set up a cabinet for the administrative offices, because that time, I can't speak to now, people will come in off the street and they will want copies of it, and we just distributed it that way. And also sometimes people would do requests and they would field that way. I think the policy has changed a little bit. You automatically go through the clerk now for those.
Yes, I think through Mr. Hedger, we had a binder where I could go and get those signed documents. It's changed a little bit, but I'm open to whatever you guys want to do. But there does need to be a centralized place where I can go make copies. Sometimes it's also like contracts we enter. We have to send the piece of legislation that matches that, and they want to see the signatures on it. So I think it's a good place to start talking about that. And I will say, in addition to this, Ben sent out the retention record policy for each specific department. And there are spaces where we're out of compliance. Not so much that we are not keeping records, that we have records that are too old.
Right.
And we're making sure that we get rid of those records that we've had for a really, really long time. It's bad both ways, to be honest. I think we've looked at it in the past as long as we have it, we're in a good space. But we're understanding that it opens us up to further litigation when we have records that we
That are too
stored
old.
that
Right.
are too old. So we're working to properly dispose of those things in some areas of our administration.
So I also just finished the 5 hours of
Records.
sunshine loss training. Oh, my word. Okay.
So-
But they do say, one of the things that they do say is, I guess once everything is cleaned up, that we have to post our public records policy. And they do have a model policy, and I don't know if I'm sure the Records Commission has seen this already.
Yeah.
But also, like the Sunshine Laws, they call it the Yellow Book, is a digital book. But since I don't think that this committee needs to duplicate efforts with the Record Commission. I think if
Right.
there's anything that needs to be changed, in terms of public policy that's on our books or how we're officially doing things, refer that to this committee.
So it's all like in the
But I
process.
don't think this committee needs to duplicate efforts with what we do that a lot. I don't think this committee needs to duplicate what the commission is doing, that they already have jurisdiction to do.
So it's just a matter of clean up, make sure it's clean, and continue with the processes that we know work. You know, and a lot of things, when it gets to certain situations, you have to clean it
Right.
and then follow those guidelines. And so that's where we are. So part of that, Ms. Dustin had mentioned, one of the things was the immediate action for us was to send stuff out to the different departments that says, okay, this is what you're responsible for. This is what we need in order to get in alignment and to get things properly taken care of.
So I'm thinking as long as we're reporting into council, saying, okay, here's where we are, or maybe to this committee, here's where we are, just so we kind of know, so, because we're going to get asked, you know, you know, and that way everybody's in the loop on where we are in the process and what's happening next, and
It's just a continual process.
It is.
I mean, and a lot of it is, I mean, it's streamlined and not all the time necessarily, hey, we destroyed this month, this week. But, you know, we don't have an issue sharing schedule once we get it formatted and, you know.
does anybody on the committee have any questions for the mayor concerning the Records Commission?
No.
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you put your microphone down? I can't hear you.
Can you repeat who's all on that again? I got yourself and a citizen, and who else was
The
on
law director.
Law
I'm sorry, I wasn't in. The law director,
that? Okay,
the finance manager.
okay. Thank you, that's all I needed. I wanted to update for the record.
Madam President,
Yes, ma'am.
there's one thing that I would ask if council could take into consideration, just having a space where all of the signed documents, newly passed legislation lives, that administration can reach out and touch. If we could maybe reinstitute something.
Ms. Tuxin, can you be more specific of something you're looking for that you've not been able to locate?
Are you asking me about the piece of legislation, or are you asking me about in general?
Generally speaking.
So in the past, what we had was a binder, and it had the year prior and the year current. And we don't have access to the binder anymore.
So you're saying you want a physical piece of paper and not the website? Is that where this is going?
Yes.
What would be the reason that you would not want it to be automated to be on the website, which is accessible for years to come, versus it being on a piece of paper?
I don't necessarily not want it to be on the website, but if their printed copies are made available, I can just scan those in and forward them. I don't have to print them again. I don't have to.
Also, sometimes the records, we're not legally allowed to refer someone to the website.
Right.
We have to provide the document
Yes.
itself if someone asks for it, because they may not have access to technology or whatever. If somebody shows up, says, I want to see record ABC, we have to physically show them that piece of paper, because they may not necessarily want to take the physical copy themselves, but they may want to maybe take a picture of their phone or look at it, but they have to be available for public inspection. I think is where you're going with that.
Yes.
Madam Chair.
Okay.
And sometimes, not all the times, the document that's online isn't signed. So sometimes there may be a delay, like if she doesn't get to upload, he or she doesn't get to upload it, and someone comes in. So for that purpose, that particular purpose, if she signed here, stick it in that binder that particular night, and then we don't have to worry about the online document not being signed.
There was an example that was quite memorable from the training, where there's a municipality, I guess, that keeps some of the records on in Dewey Decimal System cards. And someone wanted to get a copy of all of them for a year, and they had to sit there and do each individual copy. And the guy tried to sue the city, saying it's taking too long. They're like, no, they're fulfilling your request. We can't control how they keep those records, even if it seems antiquated. But communication in some fashion or another is better than nothing. But it just for convenience, I think that's something that we can address
Yeah,
as a
definitely.
council, for sure. All right, is there we got about 4 minutes left. Not sure that that's enough time to reasonably dig into something, except I had one tiny note, Ms. Dixine, that I wanted to ask about. I don't remember if I heard this in a planning commission meeting or if it was I had it penciled in my notes somewhere, so I wrote it down. Business registration, does that ring a bell?
Yes.
Can you ring it again? Because I don't remember what that was about.
We actually have, my original request was to Mr. Dieters to create a business registration piece of legislation, and we would work on the form. But actually, since then, Aaron and I have been working on it, and we have already in our legislation a business registration.
Is that in our ordinances?
It is in our ordinance.
Is it in like a on-the-fly ordinance, or is it is it in the book?
And that's what was hesitant to share, because I don't remember exactly where, but I know we have something existing. So we're going to look at that and decipher if it's appropriate to date, and then go from there.
All right, so I'm going to move this to the parking lot then, because I don't want to lose track of it in case there is something that you need council to do. But I'm going to move that off the active agenda for now. Is there anything else that the committee would like to address while we're all here in the next 90 seconds or so? Okay. All right, our next meeting is Monday, July 13 at 6 p.m. That's our next regular meeting, unless we get some special meetings in there to get this other stuff moving forward. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.
I'm gonna press some copies, and I'll be right. Safety meeting for this evening. Mr. Davis did let me know that he will be a bit tardy this evening, so we want to jump right into it. I am Kathy Curitan. I am your chair, and the rest of the committee is present. This evening, we also have our interim police chief, Craig Cheney, present, along with our city administrator and our mayor. And then I also see a few individuals who are present this evening. And so I will open space for public comments about midway through our agenda. The first thing we want to start with is an acceptance and approval of our 5/11 meeting minutes. Are there any objections to approving as is? Hearing none, we will move forward. In review of our city administrator's public safety report, or excuse me, her city administrator report, were there any highlights that the committee needed to discuss regarding police, fire, and our code enforcement? Excellent. Hearing none, we will move forward. As previously stated, we do have our interim police chief here this evening, and so I want to just jump right into that. Thank you so much for being present with us. A couple of things that we want to talk about is the overall safety of what's been happening in North College Hill. It should come by no surprise to anyone that we definitely have some concerns. Speeding seems to be one of the most contentious and most talked about topics, closely followed by the crime. And it doesn't always just involve the youth and young adults. It's just an overall crime that is occurring in North College Hill. And so I want to offer you the opportunity to talk about some of the initiatives our police department is doing to strengthen safety, to build the bridge with our business owners, with our residents, with future residents, and for everyone to feel as if they can be more safe in North College Hill. More specifically, we would love to hear you talk about some of the efforts that are happening within your police department in reference to public communication, your clearance rates for crime across the board, if there is any intentional community engagement and the relationship building. As we can see, we have about 5 of our citizens who are in the audience for this meeting today. And so any of those efforts that are taking place, and then if there are any barriers in which you're experiencing any difficulty with building that bridge.
So where do you want to start?
I was going to say, that was a lot.
Go ahead.
I can't remember every single thing.
Okay.
So
Do you have a copy of the agenda?
Yes.
there's
Okay.
one here somewhere. We were super busy today, so literally, we didn't even barely made it to our swearing in on time because of a pursuit we were involved in. So
Sure, understood.
So I provided which I gave to the committee just a second ago, just an analysis of the overall of traffic crashes, traffic citations, offense, criminal. So our reporting system allows us it analyzes all of our data and then prints out stuff for us so that we can focus on. So obviously, like traffic crashes, majority of our crashes are ACDA. People don't know what that is, rear end crash. Most of the time, it's because people aren't paying attention when they're approaching a traffic light, rear end somebody, or somebody in front of them doesn't take off. And they take off when the light turns green and they rear end somebody. So that's the biggest in traffic crashes. Obviously, peak, no surprise, 4 to 6. It's the busiest time in our city for traffic, people trying to get home. So a lot of people cut through because they want to avoid the highway. So recommendations for this, obviously, speed enforcement. Look, part of the stuff I gave you this afternoon, we are not going to ticket our way out of this issue. This is, it's a nationwide issue. It's a county-wide issue. We are not the only agency, city, municipality that faces these problems. It's a problem everywhere. So, as you saw in my report that I gave you, we have an 82% increase in citations from last year to this year. 82%.
And I did see that, and I wanted to ask you, of those 212 speeding citations, how many were on Hamilton Avenue versus West Galbraith versus a neighboring side street?
I think it should be in that report that I sent you. I can't
is.
remember offhand.
There's a traffic citations by street address.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what I'm specifically referencing are the main thoroughfares. I see that we've given a significant and thorough review of your report, although I did get it this afternoon, I appreciate that. But in that report, in comparison between the 2025 data and the 2026 data, one of the key things that I noticed is that in 2025, we had like a map that showed us those hot pocket areas, and then for,
Because the reporting system changed, I looked
Okay.
at that too, how it's even lined up, how it printed out, how I see it for 25 and how I see it for 26 was completely different, because when I was like, wait a minute, this doesn't look the same. It's, the RMS system just has different data now than
Okay.
it did last year. So when you put in last year's data, it obviously reverts to last year's data, and it prints out differently.
okay.
So
And then in that same report, for 2026, it lists West Galbraith Road as being a location. There were some areas in that report that mentioned like specific cross streets. I wanted to know where specifically, are we talking about by the golf course? Are we talking
we're
about
talking
the end by
entire West
Bob?
Galbraith, it's everywhere.
Okay,
Sundale, or not Sundale, but down by Clover Nook, the church down there. So,
yeah. So when we talk about West Galbraith Road, that is an area in which in the I'm going to start back at 2025 and compare that to 2026. It mentions that, for example, it says Hamilton Avenue, that there were 2025 70 warnings, which, okay, yep, I understand we want to give warnings, but then again, we issued 119 of the, or 111 speeding violations. So, and then again, in 2025, those numbers went up a bit, and I think they would go up because we have more staffing. Would you agree? But then I see on the report, there are a couple of areas in which it talked about stop sign, and then it said stop signs.
I don't know why it does that. It's, I mean,
So which number should we
they're
follow?
probably, it's just based on the code that the officer uses, so it puts it in there differently. Unfortunately, because we have city code and state code, sometimes it just doesn't.
Pardon me for just a second, Chief Cheney. I want to make sure, we just had a technical difficulty. Can you confirm that the audience can hear me? Yes, this is just a test.
Yeah, it's just your mic keeps crackling out.
Got it. Thank you for correcting that. We want to ensure our home audience can also hear it. So, and just in case you didn't hear the question on the report that's provided, in comparison to the 2025 data and the 2026 data, there were a couple of just areas in which the committee, or at least for myself, were not able to fully understand. There's an area that says stop sign for a number of citations of warning, and then it says stop signs. And then there's another area that says expired tags, and then expired tags, one plural, one singular. And we just wanted to make sure that that's clear so that we can really see where we are. I do have a few more questions. I want to open
So
the
it's based on whatever traffic code the officer puts in. There's multiple codes for that, and the system populates it. I don't have nothing, there's nothing I can control on that. And from PO9, it's just a RMS system, how it prints out the data.
So is it true that there could be one officer who gives one violation, but he or she would still use the plural code
Yeah.
for that? Okay.
Yeah, there's no rhyme to reason why the system does it.
Okay.
Could it be the difference between a two-way stop versus a four-way stop?
No, it just,
Okay.
I don't understand why the system does it. There's, and this analysis piece too is, some of it's new, so it's still got some bugs. So,
Okay.
like one of the new analysis features that it does, it talks about like hate crimes. And there's like 20 agencies in Hamilton County that use this system. If you looked at that number that it spits out, you would think Hamilton County is the most racist place in the entire world because the numbers aren't, the gentleman who created it those numbers are glitching, so it's creating and way out of balance. I mean, we haven't had any hate crimes, and the system was like, oh, you have this many hate crimes. I'm like, no, we don't. So sometimes the data's not always
Sure.
correct. I mean, even the data from ODOT for our safe to school routes, we've talked about that, that it lists that we've had fatal crashes on Hamilton Avenue, and we have not had any fatal crashes on Hamilton Avenue. So I don't know where some of the data comes from.
So what do you believe was the driving force for the 81% in increased citations from 2025 to 2026?
More staffing, obviously, and then we have made a priority making traffic stops, trying to slow the city down, doing as much as we possibly can. And plus, it's the guys and girls who we have on our agency now. It's nothing to knock the previous officers, but a lot of them were, they were burned out. They were ready to go. We have a lot of new guys who want to get in and get after it. So,
Committee?
Thank you. I did have one question. Specifically, I don't know if we're talking about this, just the traffic, the top two traffic bullets here, or headings, but some of the actionable recommendations, because you said we're not going to take it this way out of here, so an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? That is still true. So some of these things I see on here are more preventive measures. Can you talk to some of these things? Adjusting traffic signal timing, improved lighting, flashing stop signs. Can you talk to some of these recommendations, and do you have a time frame for some of these things, or because
really
I think preventing the issue from
signal
happening in the first place.
Yeah, like signal
Helps
adjustments, we just
tremendously.
have to be working with myself, the new public works director, who will have the contact with, like if we try to do something in Hamilton County or at Hamilton Avenue in Galbraith, we have to go through Hamilton County to do that. So if it's a study that they need to do and cycles, that'd be up to them, but I would work with the new public works director on that. We've just literally today bought a bunch of stuff, flashing stop signs that we're gonna put at some of the locations that our residents have complained about, see if that'll help with the issue. We bought 4 flashing 25-mile-an-hour speed limit signs, so it says flashing all the way across, the whole thing will flash. Try to get people to notice that it's 25, so we're going to put those north and southbound Hamilton Avenue, east-west Galbraith coming into the city. Probably we'll determine what probably a good spot. Obviously, we have them coming in to the city already, so maybe 50 yards past that, we'll put an additional sign. Hopefully it'll get people to notice. Lighting's not, some of our streets, the lighting's old, so it just needs updating. And that's some of the recommendations coming straight from the software. When it analyzes the crashes, it says, potential lighting issues.
Why do you believe that the stop sign citations increased from 6 to 61 from 25 to 26?
More enforcement.
Is that, because when you say more enforcement, I know that last year this time we were not at the same staffing capacity, and so more officers on the road. You would think that that creates more enforcement, but from the citizens' perspective, and one of the citizens in the audience shared that there was just a speeding issue on her street where someone was just not willing to slow down on a side street
Right.
because they were speeding. Now the kids are out for the summer, and not just the kids, but for all people who are out. And so if we're putting this flashing stop sign at North and South Hamilton and East and West on Galbraith, what about our side streets, right? Because these are the streets where the kids are jumping rope, playing basketball, they're outside, and that grandmother who's watering her lawn.
We have to start somewhere. So obviously most of our traffic enforcement now, and a huge complaint comes from Hamilton Avenue and Galbraith. So we start there and then work our way out into the suburb areas and the side streets. We also, besides the unit we already have, we just also purchased 2 additional speed monitoring systems that we'll have within 30-day period that actually gives really detailed information.
Okay.
So we are going to put, obviously, we'll be able to then 2 sectors of our city. We watch what the citizens say. So if they say, for instance, speeding is out of control on Betts, we'll put it there. I can tell you, like I said, it's not a new thing, but it's also, the perception is always a lot worse than the reality. Even when we had our old machine and we were running that, the perception back then that the speed was way out of control compared to what the actual numbers showed.
I respectfully kind of disagree with you on that.
No, I wouldn't, because I could tell you every chief that I talk to in every single municipality, it's the same everywhere.
I'm
It's-
more so speaking regarding North College Hill, and I'm speaking about what the citizens are experiencing.
Well, I could tell you, and I'm not trying to be argumentative, but I could tell you every city has the same complaints as our citizens. It's, nothing's different. But when we, I just had a meeting with my healthy chief when we were talking about it, the speeds, yeah, they say, oh, this is out of control. But then when you actually get the data, most people were within 10 miles an hour of the speed limit. And it's about 80 to 90% of the vehicles are within that 10-mile-an-hour zone. So
when I look at the report that we have, and the committee, I did send this over to you all earlier once I received it from Chief Cheney. It states that for 2026, January 1 through 5/31, the city has issued 194 speeding tickets. And then if we go down in the report, it states that the city was able to give somewhere around 90 warnings. So at what level, if and this is just Hamilton and Galbraith, this does not cover any of our other side streets. If we know that there is a huge concern that's more so by the golf course, Hamilton Avenue coming from College Hill and going into Mount Healthy, as a city, we gave 90-ish warnings, less enforcement. I think that there needs to be a little bit more of an initiative to maybe, I mean, I'm not sure what constitutes just
I know
that
what you're
warning.
talking, what you're
Yeah.
referencing, but 67% of our traffic stops end with a citation being written. 67% of all our traffic stops. So, I am never, ever, as the chief, going to direct my officers to not have officer discretion. So, if they pull somebody over and that person hasn't had a ticket their entire life and they understand and they're cooperative and kind, that's how a lot of times I judged when I gave a citation, based on your history, how you act when the officer approaches you, and your demeanor. If you're nice, you're kind, you don't have a history, chances are you're going to just get a warning and say, hey, slow down.
And I believe that's applicable in the correct situation. However, if we have residents who live here, who work here, who are invested, who homeowners, and they are consistently, the conversation, they're in the room, we have
Well, traffic stop
7 or
is a
8.
traffic stop,
Right.
regardless. Just because you give someone a citation or you give someone a warning doesn't mean it's going to necessarily change their demeanor and their outcome of what they're going to do down the road.
Do you think that, and this is where the committee, do you all believe that, and of course, an officer always has their own discretion to do so, but I hear it quite frequently from talking to citizens and reading online. They are concerned that the high pocket areas in which speeding is coming from College Hill, going into Mount Healthy, right by the Dollar General, by the dry cleaner, by the hair palace, and then by the golf course.
That's
If
where
we as a
write
city,
most of our tickets on those two roads.
and if we as a city are saying, you've not had a ticket in 5 years, whatever extenuating circumstances, then we are kind of giving, I believe, that interpretation, well, not North College Hill, excuse me, oh, they'll just be super nice to you. If you speed once or twice, you'll just get off. Where we are wanting to let them know, no, we do not want you to feel comfortable enough to speed in our city.
I understand what
President.
you're saying, but I could tell you the analysis from our system actually says that we are high on the tickets and not high enough on the education of the residents and giving the warnings. So,
What do you think about,
So a warning equates to education? Is that what I just heard?
yeah,
okay, and what do you think, Chief Cheney, about the, I'm going to call them the radar detectors, the, what do you call them? I don't want to use the word, someone help me out. When you're coming down, Oh my gosh, it's escaping me. The enforcement where they can actually track the speed, what is that device called?
Radar? Radar gun.
Radar, is that what it's called, a radar gun?
Our radar guns,
Does the city have those in its possession, and
We
are
have
they in
3.
use? And how frequently are they in use?
every day.
Every day. Without telling secret sauce, can you maybe share more information about how those are used in this data, and if they are only at Hamilton and Galbraith, or potentially are they on the side streets? Because again, there are a lot of
No,
citizens.
they're in the cruisers with the officers.
So if they're in the cruisers, at what point in time are the officers stationary to utilize that device?
Anytime they write a traffic citation, unless they're behind someone and they run them for something else.
Okay.
So I'm kind of confused by your, so we do not have stationary radar units that catch somebody's speed, except for the
radar gun.
the radars that are on the school signs. There is only one city in the entire state that actually has stationary radar units, and they issue citations for them. When I took over, that was one of the initiatives I looked at. But because New Miami and some other small villages across the state, they ended up paying millions of dollars back.
They had to
the
refund those
state,
tickets.
and tickets that were not legit, or they were writing tickets to people for 2 or 3 miles an hour over. So the state legislature passed a lot of guidelines on those, so it's almost near impossible to get those, and you really have to like have a really large school zone to even get them. Our areas of school zones aren't large enough for those, and then everything that gets cited through that system, an officer has to sit and watch the video, assure that the person who the camera catches is actually the registered owner of the vehicle, and then all the citations have to go down to municipal court. None of it can come to our court by
Okay.
state law.
I have one quick question.
Yes, go ahead, Ms. Clear.
Time is limited here, just.
Yes.
So I had one quick question. So you mentioned before, we were kind of talking about the preventive measures, because it's a both and, not an either or, right? So, and I'm not trying to contradict anything, but what I was asking was, in the municipalities that you've networked with, have there been strategies, and I know you're implementing some of them here, that are more successful than others, especially in smaller residential type communities, that have been effective in reducing, the instances of speeding in the first place? And if so, how long did it take those municipalities to realize a return on the methods that they had put into place? I mean, if you don't know yeah. Because I know, I'm just going to think, this is off the top of my head and it has nothing, you may not even, but, in Madeira, right, they, if you come from Montgomery Road, or I don't remember where it is, Miami Avenue, when you're coming down to Madeira.
Okay.
And they've put the obstacles in the middle of the street. Now, I know emergency vehicles don't like this, but they're not bumpy, they're not bumps, but they kind of force you as a driver to be like, whoops, I got to go around that, right? Are those effective? Are they not effective? I know traffic engineers study this stuff all the time. That's what
Yeah.
they do for a living.
Yeah.
And what would they
why I-
suggest for
what
a
I would
community of our
say part of our
size?
issue
And
is we need to really look, or even look at having another study done. I don't know how much the first one cost, but it's 6 years old. A lot of the stuff I think that they recommended is stuff we could look at, bump outs, or if it's, I've had a lot of discussions with Chief Plackey about,
it's a balancing
down
act.
by the
Yeah.
country club. But the problem is they're not 100% sure, but they suspect that the Quint's axle was broke because of going to a run, and it hit speed bump, and because of the weight of the water that the Quint carries, and then the weight of the ladder, that it cracked that axle. And you're talking, So, you know, you're
So maybe that's
talking
something we can
a ton of
investigate. If
money.
you're
So-
recommending that we need to update our numbers and update our
Right.
recommendations with modern,
Yes.
methods that are out there, maybe somebody's come up with something effective in the last couple of years that we just don't know about.
Right.
Maybe, is there a way we can,
myself
how much
and-
would, I mean, that would go to budget if we need an appropriation or something, but can we get that information and find out how
Of
much would
course,
that be?
This is all
I mean,
to
I
work
think,
together. Myself and
I want to hear from,
Ms. Dukestein,
from
we have
people who do this
also,
all the time,
you know, We've
too.
looked at, you know, there's products out there that are a little bit not as, I don't know, like some of the ones we've had before, they're just like rock hard, almost like concrete, and you hit those and, you know, you feel them. There's more ones that are called like cushions that are more designed for like a crosswalk type that we could put potentially, you know, in the center lanes to try to stop some of the people from, you know, using the center lane as a passing lane instead of a turn lane.
Yeah, and I think that's a good idea. I do believe that you have here that there's going to be some blitzing that's occurring, but I believe there was a blitz that occurred in April. So can you speak to those results and the succession if you saw anything from that data? Because I do believe, and we might disagree on this, but a blitz is just temporary. What we're looking for is to implement something that's a little bit more long-lasting and permanent. And the reason why is, again, my mind frame is not just focused on the right now. My mind frame is focused on North College Hill being more attractive and more safer for
I get
all.
it. And if you look at, and some of the numbers, I mean, they're going to constantly go up because we have more officers
Yeah.
on the road.
Right.
But our
They
call volume honestly keeps going up as
Yeah.
well, unfortunately. And if you look at the report, it'll also give you like routine traffic stop or step. Step is when they come in and work
Yeah.
overtime. Like
Right.
if we did the blitzes, that would be part of the step program. So the guys are out there making a lot of stops just on their normal workday compared to coming in and doing, there's only a couple guys that want to come in and do the step for the extra money. You know, never going to force anybody to work overtime. We work
Sure.
enough of it. So,
So the data in the report for the STEP is just referencing 2 officers who are willing to come in on their on their off days to work that overtime. Because I know the city gets the grant dollars for the STEP program to fund
yeah, but
that.
we get very minimal.
Right,
We only get 12 hours the entire month.
right. What I'm
Um,
referencing is that in this report, it references 100 or so between January and January and May.
Yeah.
Those are STEP. So
Correct.
those are just specified for STEP because those are not a part of,
Their
like they're,
normal working day. They
Got
actually
it.
come in. So when we put it on schedule, they actually sign up for the overtime. It says step overtime, traffic enforcement. So when they put the
Yeah.
ticket in, our reporting system also, they can mark on step, so it shows that they're using those hours to make the citation.
I
Madam
want to
Chair.
say, yes, just a second, Ms. Dukestein. I want to give space, if there are any, we're about that midway half point. I want to give space for there to be, any audience comment. If there's anyone here who would like to make a comment, if you can, let's see, I'm actually going to permit you to come right over to Ms. Zorb, and you can just share your name. You will have just a few minutes, because what I really want us to do is, we know that we have a problem. We know that we have to identify the areas of opportunity, but I want us to walk away this evening with some results. What can we do in collaboration with our administration, our PD, to drive results for the city? Go ahead.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Before we do that, I had sent you previous notification.
and I
So while
did
she's
receive it.
getting settled, I know that we need a quorum to conduct business, but a lesser number can adjourn. But I had a commitment that I have to go to.
So
I don't know when Mr. Davis, I don't want me to interrupt, but I don't know when he's going to get here, but.
Okay.
Is there anything that we need to
he's about
Button
4
up.
minutes away.
button up? I can wait for him, I can wait for him to get
Yes,
here. That way
okay.
you make sure you have enough people.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Mashallah Alexander, Center Ridge Avenue. This past Wednesday, talking about the speeding, which I've talked about a number of times. My husband getting ready to go to work. It's about close to 3
AM or PM?
p.m. Witnessed accident right in front of our house. I mean, flying, it was like a game of chicken. Both of them smashed, You know, I advised him not to go out there, but he went and he approached both drivers and said, what do you think, what did you think would happen if you're going down here 45 miles per hour? What do you think that was going to happen? Went down there, you know, police came. They asked my husband what he saw. You know, he was like, what I see every day. And to your point, 10 miles per hour is too fast to be going over the 25 mile per hour limit on any street. I mean, especially a residential street. Residential street, 25 miles per hour, now you're up to 35. Elderly on our street. We don't have many children anymore. But everybody came out because we witnessed this all the time. After that went through, started seeing police presence, great, awesome. That day, we saw at least 3 people get pulled over close to my house. And if that is the case, if 3 additional drivers were pulled over, those are the ones that got caught. So, you know, there is, you know, imagine the people who didn't get caught. And that was just right after that accident. That wasn't counting before, you know, the next day, 3 other. So, you know, those side streets, they really need to be manned. And, you know, I commend them, you know, the officers for, you know, coming through. And I just don't want it to be a one-day thing. Because even after they left, you saw, vroom, you know, they were just going. And like I said, 10 miles per hour is not a small mile per hour, you know, to be going over that, you know. And I even spoke to one of the officers about the enforcement cords and things of that nature. Where did he think that it should go? Because I know where it was before. And where it was before, in my opinion, and I'm no expert, but it was too far down towards the light because, of course, they've already slowed down because they've gotten caught at the light. It needed to be up further where, like near my house.
Right.
That's where they zipped.
Actually, the old system,
We've lost so many daggone
Because of
mirrors on
where
cars.
you have to, how you have to station, it's not ideal system. So that's, Ms. Ducastino will attest. I was like, hey, we need this, we need this. She could attest that I pushed for this, and she agreed. She was like, oh, I understand what you're saying. So the new systems we're getting, we will put on a pole. It's solar powered, and when it's hooked up, we can literally log into it from my phone or my computer and get the data instantly. With the old system, we literally had to leave it up for 2 weeks, pull it off,
Move it.
upload the information to my computer from the system. We won't have to do that anymore. We can literally, as soon as it's up, I can start monitoring the traffic in the areas.
Do you have an ETA?
So they told me about a 30-day turnaround from approval of PO number to us getting the system.
And that was from what date?
It was approved today. So
No, we didn't approve it. We're talking about it tomorrow in our meeting, but he submitted the PO today.
So no pressure, but again, I want to make sure that, Ms. Dukestein. Okay. So, we do have, I thought, yes, no, Ms.
Thank you.
It's not in
You're
the room.
welcome.
And thank you so much, Ms. Alexander, but there are, is she back there? No. She was here earlier. Yes, yes, she left out. So Chief Cheney, when it comes to things that you need, that process for that PO, we understand there's an approval, but for Ms. Dukestein, when we know that we have a real-time problem, is there a way to expedite that so that we can better support our police department, which ultimately better supports the residents, which ultimately makes North College Hill more attractive?
We got a PO today. Is that what you're asking?
I'm asking about anything that our police department would need to better work their jobs, more efficiency. If there is something that is needed, we're not talking about ordering new badges or new uniforms or shoes. We're talking about something that will allow our citizens to have better safety, as Ms. Alexander said, within a matter after that traffic accident, which was already a problem. Within a few hours, there were 3 parties who were pulled over in a short period of time. Right? So if Chief Cheney has something that he believes is going to allow our city and our officers to do their job more effectively, is there a process that we can speed up that PO process for those one-off instances?
We're not delaying anything.
Nothing was delayed. So we looked at a lot of different systems. Unfortunately, a lot of stuff is not cheap when it comes to our realm and our industry. So I did a lot of research, a lot of digging, talking to other agencies on what they used. The system, we bought 2 of them. Same system that provides our laser units for us. So some of the data that we will actually capture from these, some of these other agents, vendors, I should say, capture the same kind of data, but we're talking a price of like 3 to 4 times difference from what. So
Okay.
we started high looking at it and worked our way down to find out what, obviously, yes, it's an issue. We have to have the tools, but we also have a budget, and we have to make sure that we have everything that we need, and I can't just like blow our budget for one particular
Sure.
issue. So
Madam Chair.
we worked really closely and got this approved.
Before Ms. Zorb poses her statement or question, Chief Cheney, can you talk about your enforcement that you performed in April with our officers, the blitz that occurred? I don't know if you were able to provide the data specifically for just that short blitz, that short weekend, the number of citations, and then if you were able to identify any of the high-speed hotspots.
I mean, you've already identified the high-speed hotspots, I can tell you.
From this, just this blitz that you did in April, because we're talking about doing another blitz in June, July, and August, and a
Right.
blitz, in my mind, it captures the data that
So
we
this blitz
already have.
will be able to be a little more far scoped because it's the sheriff's office. So they will have a broader range of what they can enforce. When we bring OSP in, they're kind of limited to, because of the nature of them being OSP, to the state route, which is Hamilton Avenue. So that's where their enforcement can come from.
Ms. Zorb?
So actually, I have 2 things I want to say. It took me a while to get in. So the one thing in this report, I was wondering if we can add, and I don't even know, like on one of the other pages, can we add a report that tells us, and I could be wrong on the term, but I think the term is stacking tickets. So if Mary Jo gets pulled over and she's got her cell phone in her hand, she was speeding, and she ran a stop sign, so she gets 3 tickets, right? So can we,
So I
versus,
provide that every
is that
month.
in here somewhere? Because I don't see
think
it.
It's in that part. It's in what I sent them.
Okay, can we get that added? I'd like to know how many,
I sent it to Ms. Cureton. She
And I
said
have sent it
she
to the
didn't wanna
committee.
use it.
But I think what you're looking for, in the reports that were provided from Chief Cheney, it does not talk about stacking, right? It talks
I
about.
didn't see it.
It's
It
not
does.
there.
One
What
of-
page?
The one that,
The one that I sent you before
Yes.
that you contested.
Can you just tell me what the page is called?
What's it called?
I sent
just
it to
a-
Ms.
it's
I
May.
sent it to Ms. Cureton today.
And it's with the committee, but if you can still identify the page.
it's just the May stats.
So the May stats does not talk about stacking. It talks about the number of citations, but it doesn't say if we pulled over Jane
Citations
Doe.
compared to violations.
That's correct, but it doesn't say,
How many more violations is there than, I don't have the report in front of me, so I'm not trying to
Here,
be
I can pull
difficult.
it up.
sure, no problem, sir. What I'm referring to is, I think what Ms. Sorb is saying is that if we pull over Jane Doe, how many violations does she get? Versus saying that
The system
Jane,
does not tell us that.
and that's what Ms. Zorb is
Yeah,
asking
it's just- Our
for.
system does not, it just tells us the
When,
number of violations compared to
when
the number of
Officer
citations.
Smith writes a ticket, it's,
I know, but what I'm saying is PL9 does not break it down that way in a report.
Is that
The only way it separates is violations in one category and citations in another.
is that something using our neighboring cities like Mount Healthy, Springfield Township? Is that something that everybody is doing that Pill 9 doesn't do? Or is it just because we use Pill 9?
It's what PL9 doesn't do.
Okay. So then is it time for us to look at a way that we can upgrade the software? Because if we're
No.
looking at,
I'm not trying to be difficult, but no.
well,
PL9 is used by like 25 agencies in Hamilton County, and one of the big things that it's good for is sharing all our information. So like if someone is arrested, or before when we had PAMIT, none of the information was shared, okay? It was all exclusive to your agency. Even though there was, majority of Hamilton County was on PAMIT, you couldn't see anything. So now with Peel 9, anytime anybody has an interaction with that individual, we can see that. So like if John Smith was stopped in Coleraine or Springfield Township and they get a citation, we can see that in the system from Peel 9.
So the report that I've sent to the committee and also came from Ms. Dukesteen says May stats, and it gives just criminal offense, arrests, traffic accidents, citations, violation, but
So
it doesn't,
citations is a number of tickets, right?
right?
And then the violations is how many total violations we wrote, which means some tickets had more than one citation, or more
It's
than
called
one
traffic
violation on it.
citation violations.
Correct. So a violation is
You're
the
trying-
number of violations that we wrote. A citation is the number of actual tickets we wrote.
But it doesn't
It's
identify the
one-
number of people.
That's one title, traffic citation violations. You're saying that that's two different things, but this,
Correct.
Header
So
is
we
one.
wrote, if you look at it, you might not have it in front of you, Mary, Ms. Sorb.
I printed. it
Traffic
out.
citations, 159, right? So that means we had 159 tickets. We wrote 202 violations. So there was tickets that had more than one violation. Okay? A citation is the paper ticket that we give to the driver and then we turn into court, right? Each citation has more than one violation potentially on it.
Okay,
That
I
makes
want
sense.
yes, I want to save space again for.
Can I do my other comment? I'm sorry.
Absolutely,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead. And then before you speak, the next person from the audience who would like to speak, if you can just come on up. Go ahead, Ms. Orb.
All right, so I heard you mention that you're trying to buy more of these devices that do like the speed counting kind of thing. And you can watch it real time on your phone, but I'm curious how that translates into any type of traffic calming, or like if you're sitting in your office looking at your phone, seeing that someone's speeding down Center Ridge and Masha Alexander sitting on her front porch, seeing people fly by, but that doesn't stop anyone from
Well, no,
flying
but it
by
gives us the raw data that we need to
immediately dispatch a cop to go get them.
to where we need to put our forces and put our manpower at. So, for instance, I could put it on Center Ridge, and it could show, not saying that there's not, but it could show that there's not an issue on Center Ridge, so we don't have to deploy our forces there. But I can then put it on Betts, and it could show 75% of the traffic is going 40 miles an hour on Betts. Well, then we know, okay, when we do our blitzes or we do step, I can tell the officers like, hey, look, this data is showing that 75% of the cars on Betts Avenue are going 40 miles an hour. We need to concentrate on Betts.
But do we need that if we already know, based upon what Ms. Alexander has shared in that short period of time, based upon I or any person in this room can sit anywhere in this city and they can see, as we've been in this meeting, I just got an email from a citizen who has complained about the speeding. So we know
I
that
understand what you're saying, and I understand what the citizens, I truly do, but you have to realize, like, we're trained to do this. We, like, take classes, we go through the training. Sometimes it's your direct eye, if you don't have the training in this, sometimes you think your perception is greater than reality. Is
Or
what I'm saying. And I can
is
tell
it?
you through, and you're laughing, but it's not a joke.
Laughing.
Well, I think
You can tell when someone's doing 45 coming down the Hamilton
I'm telling
Hill
you, the
versus
perception of-
25. It's pretty obvious.
I want to save space
It is
for
obvious. Come
the
on.
resident. If you can state your name and your street and then.
Hi, my name is Tangi Darden. This is my husband, Kevin.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
We live on Center Ridge, and Center Ridge is like it's a race speedway. Nobody, it's like the people that speed don't live on our street. It's a cut through. They speed down Center Ridge. I mean, they're at least going between 50 and 70 miles an hour
She's not exaggerating.
Well, and we'll fix
every
it.
day.
We'll pass
I'm
it.
the
That's
one,
what
if
it-
you go down Center Ridge, I'm the one, we have the sign that says, drive like your children live here. Yeah. We had to put one of those up, but, you know, We used to have, I don't know what you call those signs, but it shows the miles per hour that you're driving when you're when you pass. We used to have that, and it may have helped a little bit, but it's insane how fast they go on that street. And I can tell you that is a problem.
You can get rich off Center Ridge.
You had somebody sit on Center Ridge towards the end, they basically mostly speed going up.
It's the throughway from
Oh, I know.
Hamilton to Garber, from Garber
Yeah.
to Hamilton. It's the throughway street. It's a shortcut.
Yeah.
Cut out the lights. And a lot of people that's come doing this don't even live on the street.
It's like Indy 500.
And thank God we don't have a lot of kids over there.
Mm-hmm.
like we used to.
Most of the, I mean, majority of people that we pull over aren't from our town. I mean, it's just the facts. I mean, you know, Hamilton and Galbraith Road both average almost 6,000 cars a day in traffic,
The other
just on those
issue-
two roads.
If you can
The
speak
other
into the
issue-
microphone for me, please.
The other issue is you can't even, say like going towards Center, or going towards Hamilton, we're supposed to pull over, but cars coming from Hamilton going up, they know they got the right of way. A lot of people don't even understand or know the right of way when to pull over. And
It's an
when
accident.
you do pull over, you got the fool behind you that don't have the patience enough to wait. They want to go around you, which causes a serious problem.
We hear horns blowing constantly on that street because people don't know who has the right of way, and they're speeding. So that's a recipe for disaster.
Ms. Darden, for just a second, I want to welcome Mr. Davis at 747, and I'm also going to excuse Ms. Clear at 747. Both are excused. Go ahead, Ms. Darden.
I was just saying it's a recipe for disaster. And I'm surprised there's not more accidents on Center Ridge than they already are. Because one day somebody's going to truly, truly get hurt.
So Chief Cheney, knowing this, we have two citizens who live on the same street where there was an issue last week, an accident and 3 violations. We are now, as citizens in this community, are asking for, we understand that you have the blitz, we understand that there are some things that have been ordered, we're understanding, you know, your vision and actionable items, recommendations. But what I'm thinking about is old school policing, right? What about being on the beat? Walking, what I mean being on the beat is just walking the community. We have people who are here, emails that are coming in that they're more real time, and we have a problem. I realize that technology might be outdated, and I realize that there are some things that you're working on in Q3 and Q4 of the year. But what about right now? When we walk out of here and we wake up tomorrow and they see the vehicles going 50 and 60, and I don't believe it's their perception only. I do believe that there's some
I'm not
validity.
denying that. I'm just
So
saying.
what can we do
the
now?
percentage is
Part of an old-
usually greater that it's not way over than the percentage
Mm-hmm.
that is way over is what I'm saying.
But what can we do now before any of the things that you've ordered, the stop sign and the updated materials? What can we do now? We want to hear from you because I am not a police officer. You are, and I want to hear from you. What are
Just the
officers?
enforcement. I mean, that's all we can do.
Okay.
And work with, I mean, you know, work with you guys if you think there's additional, but really enforcement. But like I said, we're not always going to be able to just enforce our way out of this problem.
Are we able? And I'm glad you're pulling your microphone up because I was going to ask you the question.
Ask me a question.
Are we able to? I realize that you have a blitz coming up in the future. Are we able to, for the next 7 days, or the next 5 days, or the next few days, to put officers in areas that we know we have a problem, and garner that information, and we can potentially go to what can we do to prevent this going forward? I don't even really know, though, if it's necessary to do so because we have the data from the citizens. It's not perception, it is the reality. But if there is something that you need to better support, any grant dollars, what have you, is there a way for the next 7 days we can say these are our high traffic areas, the golf course, Center Ridge?
I mean, we do that already. It's already on our dashboard to look at these areas.
So how many tickets have been written on Center Ridge in the past 7 days?
I didn't run that data.
Okay. Go ahead, Mayor Nichols.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am suggesting because this is not the first time we've heard with Center Ridge, just until
Thank you, everybody.
Yes, thank you so much.
we figure out exactly what the solution is, that temporarily we put some speed humps there. I don't know what that looks like, if it's temporary, just to put 2 on the street, just until we can figure out what the solution is.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mayor Nichols.
I mean, that's my suggestion, and I think that that's something that we should really look into doing.
Yeah, some of the issues that we're having, you're right, we cannot ticket our way out of this. However, I do believe that when a person gets that $180 ticket, whatever it costs, that itself is a deterrent, right? And nobody wants to, the way that gas and all the other things are expensive, I believe the ticket can serve as a deterrent. I do believe too that there needs to be a speed bump, or a speed hump or something there. Some of the things I wanted the committee to talk about, and some engineering fixes. When I say engineering, these are things that are fastest and they have long-term impacts, bump outs on repeated complaint corridors, right?
So that's part of the thing I was talking about, that it has
Traffic
to
calming
be
study.
a joint thing. Like, I don't have the budget for my department to say, let's go buy 50 speed bumps. They're not cheap. I mean, depending on, you're ranging anywhere from $200 to $600, depending, or even more, depending on which. So I can't just pull that out of my budget. So that's one of the things. Obviously, we're having a budget meeting tomorrow to look at some stuff.
I also believe that if we had lane narrowing striping, and what that typically means is that when a driver is going down a street that kind of tightens up a little bit, it forces them to slow down. I'm not sure if that's something that you've entertained, along with even having greater crosswalk visibility at the corner of Galbraith and Parrish. And I sent you an email on this as well. There was someone who was speeding and they hit it and they knocked it out, and now that area doesn't have proper signage for crossing that intersection.
Yeah.
Thankfully the kids are
So
out of
that's,
school. Yeah.
A Public Works issue. We did everything we were supposed to. We got all the information for insurance purposes and forwarded it to the Public Works Department.
Ms. Dukestein, can you give us an update on that?
Public Works, they've been without a director. They have a director now, so it's something that we can work on getting.
Ms. Dukestein, can you speak to that intersection of Galbraith and Parrish and the time frame? And you believe that since insurance, and thank you for the update, Chief Cheney, if they're potentially the next 10 days, since we now, first I didn't know, but now that we have a director for Public Works.
What's your question again?
The question is referencing in the email that was sent earlier regarding Parrish and Galbraith Road. Do you know its current condition?
I do.
Okay, can you tell me in which the time frame that the city is planning to remedy the problem?
I cannot give you the specific time frame because I don't know the extensiveness of what it's going to take to rectify it.
Is there a way, because it's a problem, right? And I believe that Chief Cheney has been that way since, how long?
Early or late last year.
Yeah, so it's been a while,
Yeah.
almost 6 months or greater. Is there a way that we can put that a little bit at the higher priority on the list for the city? And I didn't know that it needed to have a public works director in place in order for the city to do so, but now that we do, is there a way that we can put it as a higher priority for that area, that because it's a crosswalk, to be repaired and ready, available for the safety of our city?
So yes, we can definitely make sure that we move it up and prioritize it. However, it doesn't necessarily warrant having a public works director. It just was, I don't have eyes and ears every single place. I don't notice every single thing. Our public works department doesn't notice every single space. When Chief Cheney sent over the information he had, that's when it became under my awareness, and I was able to be actionable against it. But to identify the specific timing, I'm not yet able to do that.
Thank you so much. And as Mayor Nichols has suggested, I think it would be beneficial for Center Ridge, a couple of the streets as well, but for Center Ridge to put speed bumps, speed humps, something of that nature. You can come back on up, Mr. Darden, thank you. Ms. Dukesy, our mayor has made this recommendation. Now, I know not everybody is a fan because of what happens in the winter. I fully understand that, but there needs to be something that is done more sooner than later. So go ahead.
Are you giving me the opportunity to speak?
I am.
Okay, so what I was going to say earlier is that we have some Metro Now routes, and Metro Now is actually agreeing to do some studies on some troubled streets that they will be traveling down, so we can utilize some of those dollars. I don't actually have an issue with speed humps. I just want us to spend our money wisely and do what is effective. And the feedback that we've gotten from our neighboring cities is that speed bumps are not slowing people down. There's a particular kind of speed bump that has a higher rate of success, and that we are not able to get specifically on Center Ridge because Center Ridge is super shallow. And they have parked cars on one side, and because of that, they're struggling. Cars that are passing west and east, and then east and west, they're struggling. There's really only makes it once there are parked cars on the right side if you're facing east, a one-way lane, and they have to kind of scoot over. So there's more than one problem. There's the speeders, there's the size of the street, the parked cars, and the type of speed humps that we would need to place on that street for it to be effective are those elongated ones, and they don't fit on shallow streets.
But we can't leave Center Ridge alone. We have to have
I'm not
something.
suggesting that we leave
Okay.
Center Ridge alone. I definitely think that it's a problem. I hear individuals, residents loud and clear, and I think that my comment is that we want to address it.
If I can, before you speak again, sir, if I can, this has been something that we've been talking about. I look back before our joint council. This has been a very hot, contentious topic for a number of years. I remember when Ms. Underwood, she's on council, and she complained about her street, and then at that time, Ms. Alexander, too, also complained about her street. I am concerned that, however, that we're now having to revisit this conversation to say, let's do another study. Let's see what Metro Now can do. We know that we have a problem. We need to walk away today with actionable items for our citizens, for our community to say, this is what we have. Now, it's not to say this is going to permanently fix the problem, but to just leave it be and let's do further research. We have the research. We have the JMA study. Nothing has changed between the JMA study in 2020 and now in 2026. And when Ms. Underwood and Ms. Alexander said the same conversations in 23 and 24, not much has changed. What I'm noticing, though, is that we're saying, let's just try something different today. And we've not tried anything in the past 6 years. So I'm asking for
Say
administration.
that's not true. I just gave you stats that we are 82% higher in traffic enforcement.
When I say not trying anything, as you mentioned, that we cannot enforce our way out of this. What we're talking about are proactive ways that when they get to Center Ridge and when they get to Norman and when they get to West Galbraith Road, they are forced to slow down. Even if you have 5 out of the 50 cars that slow down, that's better. We have less than 5 people now who are speeding. But we want to do something that will bring actionable items. We can't just continue to talk about it over and over, month after month, year after year. We now need actionable items. And so I'm going to ask the administration, per our mayor's request, if it's not speed bumps or speed humps, let's look at bump outs, or let's look at the lane narrowing options. I'm asking for.
Speaking to the lane narrowing option, how are you going to do that on Center Ridge? The road is already too narrow.
You and I are not engineers, but I
know,
do
but
believe.
Here's part of what we have to realize. All of our side streets were designed, when was our town put in? 40s, 50s? When majority of residents, probably 90% of residents, had one car. Now almost everybody probably has multiple cars. So the cars, that's a complaint all the time too of parking. I don't have enough parking. I can't park in front of my house because I get it, because everybody has a ton of parking. I mean, heck, at my house, if there's 4 cars. You know, my neighbors, we just got a new neighbor, 6 cars there, so they're taking up a lot of parking.
I
Every
understand what you're
house,
saying.
I think, on Center Ridge has a car parked in the street probably. So, I mean, when we go code or, you know, fire department goes code down Center Ridge, it's hard for us to get by. You know?
Understood.
So I hear what you're saying, but a lane narrowing on Center Ridge, I mean, I don't, unless you are, we're talking about, we're not going to allow vehicles to park on the street anymore.
I believe what we should do is, and I'm going to circle back to what Mayor
So
Nichols
I
said,
think we
and then
should
we're
have
going to
some,
hear.
I'm 100% in agreement with you. If we just do maybe some soft, bump outs or some soft
Absolutely.
speed bumps that are more designed
Absolutely.
like a crosswalk type design, where it's not going to have that immediate impact on your car.
That's
or,
correct.
You know, one of our vehicles. I mean, I don't
Yes.
know. We've replaced 2 front end suspensions on both of our Chargers this year after being in situations where we've had to go code, and then guys come back and like, hey, you know, I mean, you're talking $4,000 a piece.
Understood. And I understand that we're not here to solve every single problem today, but what we are here to do is to have actionable items. And again, if it's not a bump out, if it's not a speed bump, and if it's not, we need to have something in place. So Ms. Dukesting, I'm going to ask you as our city administrator to do the research for this committee. And if you can provide what those cost factors are for a bump out, I am going to ask you to look at lane narrowing, and I'm also going to ask you to look out for the speed hump/bumps. If you can make that information readily available for this committee, I know that might be a bit of a stretch, and if we have to tap an engineer or what have you, let us know, and then council can make those necessary preparations if necessary or required. But we have to do something. We have a problem, and to just walk away today and say, let's do another study, we can't. We'll be in the same situation 2 years from now. We don't want that.
I mean, I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
My frustration is, study was done in 2020.
During COVID.
And this is not directed at anyone on this council, but, because most of us weren't here, but nothing's been done from that side.
We're not going backwards, though.
I
We
know,
are
but
moving
that's what I'm saying, though.
forward.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, you said it yourself, like, nothing was done.
So now
And
we're,
that's
today is,
frustrating. That in 2020, we had a study that outlined a lot of stuff, and we did nothing.
I get
We've
it.
got to stop.
but we're not going to
doing
focus
that.
on that.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
We've got to stop doing
Okay.
that. We have to,
Absolutely.
as all of us working together,
Absolutely.
doing this.
Yes, I agree. Go ahead, sir. Mr. Darton.
Yes, to co-sign on what the young lady said, both slow bumps are definitely needed, but you have to get the right type, because from what the example I'm about to give you, the ones up on Roseline, I'm not sure if you're aware of them on Red Road.
Yes,
Those are nice.
Yes.
They served its purpose for a short time, but they got tore up
they did.
in the wintertime because I believe it was done by the snow plows. Those are the elongated kind. You probably need a kind that goes from curve to curve. Probably a little bit shorter because, like I said, the cars are parked on the street, and that will be an issue. But yeah, I wouldn't suggest going with the kind that was in Roseline. Maybe the type that's over by the school. What
I
are
agree.
that was pretty much it. Because if you go with the ones in Roseline, that's going to be probably a waste of money. I believe that's that heavy duty rubber type, and it just a lot of them just got tore up,
Yeah.
completely missing half of them there. What was really there? But yeah, I wouldn't suggest going with that kind.
Madam Chair.
And I also, just 1 second, Ms. Dukesting, I also wanted to just see if we could, as another request from you, if we can also, I've seen them in neighboring communities of where they have, and I think you said you have one in your front yard, slow down like your kids live here, but if we can have some kind of campaign that talks about slow down for the kids in North College Hill, or slow down like your kids live here, and something in tagging North College Hill, if you can potentially give us some pricing on what that would cost the city, I would put one in my yard. I'm sure many of the people in this room, thank you for raising your hand, would put one in their yard. We want everyone to know that it takes, like Chief Cheney said, we cannot take it our way out of this, but we want people to know that we are a joint community working for a greater need of slowing down the whole neighborhood. And I know that it's something that might incur a cost, but that visibility for someone who's driving down the street, going 50 or 60 on Center Ridge, that may catch their eyes and their heart, and it may cause them to say, you know what, I probably need to slow down. I'm not in an emergency. And I think you wanted to say something.
I just think that we have to choose the right product for specifically Center Ridge. I can tell you, if I were to ask Ms. Alexander, bump outs are not going to be the answer for her street. Have you been, your street is so shallow, and with the parking there, that is going to, and so I don't even, I definitely, I
right.
agree. I agree that something needs to be done. And so when you were made reference to the problem persisting over a 6-year period of time, many of us weren't here, in council, administration alike. We have actually tried to remediate the issue on Center Ridge. It hasn't stopped. It hasn't slowed down just yet, but it does take time for the city to slow down and to see the actionable force that we're trying to apply. I know that it's an extremely dangerous scenario on Center Ridge. I have driven Center Ridge more recently myself, and I see the danger that is impending on that street.
If you can speak up, Ms. Dukestein, we're getting comments that they can't hear you. I'm not sure what's going on.
I'm sorry.
Sure.
I've driven Center Ridge myself and then seen the impending danger down Center Ridge. I agree that something needs to be done. I am not trying to say that we don't need to do anything. I think in transparency, the first thing that needs to be done is we should have an officer that sits there and monitors traffic down Center Ridge
until
we can figure out what type of equipment we can put there.
One running radar and one giving out tickets.
That's right.
My only apprehension about adding equipment, when I say that, I mean speed bumps, is really trying to understand. I don't want, the residents have been impacted enough on that street. Putting speed bumps across the entire street, as shallow as that street is going to take away parking. I look at their driveways are short and they dip down. I've rode down Center Ridge thinking through what would be helpful there myself many times. That's why I can tell you the landscape there. I'm not trying to do anything. I'm just trying to work with Chief Cheney to do the right thing so that we can get the most lasting impact. It's not even about money. It is really about making sure the residents in that space are safe. But that street presents a lot of challenges. One, because it feeds off of a main road. And I think the residents back here, I was looking, that is, a lot of people use that street to get to the light and to go where they want to go. So they're speeding from this way, and then they're speeding from this way. And the street is shallow. So I'm just saying, we are definitely trying to figure it out. We're trying to implement. Sometimes the best resolutions do not come overnight, and that street has a particular landscape that causes us to put some cautionary thought into what measures need to be applied, because it is already so shallow, because the residents are already extremely inconvenienced. I have literally gone down myself and seen somebody trying to scoot over and knock somebody's mirror off. They actually knocked 2 mirrors off in a row. And so I don't want to create more of a problem on that street, which is why I would like to take the time to just dig into it the right way.
And I think that digging into it is awesome. It's good to hear that. But I also believe that we have the resident buy-in, that if we have one officer catching those who are speeding and the other officer writing the tickets for the next 30 days. So I'm asking Chief Cheney, is this something you're able, because I think that we might have enough officers for this job. One officer writing the tickets, one officer monitoring the speed, and let's bring that data back at our July meeting.
Well, we won't do it that way, but we'll we'll increase it. And so we have to realize too, we have to be sensible about this. If we fix the problem on Center Ridge, where's the problem going to move?
Center Ridge
is going to move to Maryland.
Yeah.
And then the problem after that's going to move to Bising.
Right. We get
it's
that.
Just going, I mean, it's just,
Madam Chair.
so, you know, we're gonna fix the
But we
problem,
can't
it's always
walk
gonna
away
move. No, we're not gonna walk away.
today
but
with nothing.
here's
Well,
my
we,
frustration though. Like, we're after this, but like, we just spent an hour on this. And yeah, we're coming to resolutions, but it's also an hour that I didn't even get to present a lot of our stuff that I think the citizens want to hear and the committee should hear of the good things that this agency is doing.
well, respectfully, Chief Cheney, I have invited you to my meetings in April and May, and there was no show. So I just want to say, I did
Is
save
it-
space.
so-
I did save space for you.
And
You have
my
been
boss-
always invited.
My boss tells me when I need to come, okay? I report to her.
So I've also
And she-
invited your boss to those
and
meetings. I
she-
always save
so-
space.
And some of the stuff we were going to provide wasn't available yet.
Okay.
Like, we just literally, last Monday, secured a grant with juvenile court. We're going to be the only agency in the state of Ohio, not Hamilton County, state of Ohio, that's going to be working with this program. We are going to be one of a kind program in the entire state. That says something about this agency. When Judge Bloom was going after this grant, and
Absolutely.
she chose us out of
That's awesome.
everybody else to do.
That's a big win. That's definitely a big win.
So-
But you are always invited to this committee.
I understand that.
Yes, yes.
So,
And
but
so I
I
hope
want you
Ms.
to know that
Dukestein will
it's-
allow you to come as
And
well.
I'm not throwing my boss because we look at it and we discuss it. She can attest to this. I'll come to any meeting. I don't care. Most of my evenings are sitting at home on the couch with my dog. So,
Sure, good. I want to
go out and
also,
party. I don't go out and do stuff like that. So
Just a quick time check. It is
Yes.
8:15. I was wondering if the chief could send your presentation to us via email.
yeah,
Thank you.
I gave you some of it
yes,
on some of the other stuff before on the handout.
and it is
The
a
hand-
quarter
absolutely.
after, and I do want to respect everyone's time, but I also want to make sure that we walk away with what our action items are between now and July. And Chief Cheney, I want to save that space for you. I'd never want to give you a directive. I will never be a police officer, but I want you to have, I would never want to. I have them all in my family, so I never would want to. But what I'm asking for is that for those who have come out this evening, who have taken time away from their family and their community and whatever else they have going on this evening, what action items are we walking away with that we can say we're going to try this? Not to say it's going to be guaranteed to work, but what are we walking away with tonight to say we're going to try this over the next,
Well, we will increase our enforcement on Center Ridge.
okay,
I can promise you that.
okay.
And then tomorrow we have a budget meeting. Now mainly the budget is just discussing stuff within the police department. And because obviously we thank council. We passed a great contract, but with a great contract also presented some budget challenges because we didn't budget for that, quite frankly. So we're making adjustments on what we have to do. So that's our meeting tomorrow. And then I presented a lot of stuff to Ms. Dukestein. We were working on a lot of stuff. It takes time. Rome wasn't built in a year.
Absolutely, for sure.
So-
And then, Ms. Dukestein, those items, and it may not be a bump out, it may not be a speed hump, it may not be a speed bump, maybe something, but we need to do something not just on Center Ridge, but in the city of North College Hill. So if you can gather that information, I don't know if you have to PR in an engineer or what have you, but we want to have that information so that this council legislatively can move forward if we even have to allocate additional funds wherever, whenever, however, but we have to have that information so that we can best serve the citizens of North College Hill. I appreciate that from you. And Mayor Nichols, I think there was one more thing you had to say.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just going to say, Ms. Dukestein talked about the parking on Center Ridge with the speed hump. That same particular speed hump that's on Bising is on Clovernall, and they have parking on Clovernall as well.
Okay.
I think it's positioned where a car can park in front or behind it. I don't believe that it parks.
Bottom of the hill.
Yeah, it's at the bottom of the hill.
Good to
So,
know.
and when I mentioned earlier, something that was temporary, if you do it or not. But I just wanted to make mention that that particular speed hump is on Clover Knoll at the
Good to know.
second half of it.
Very good data. I appreciate that.
Madam,
Go ahead.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
Now, one question to the residents of Center Ridge. Now, what would y'all think of the thought process of Center Ridge becoming a one-way North Street and Maryland becoming a one-way South Street? Now, because that's the way,
That's a better idea.
because that was a solution over there on Southwest, like between DeArmond and the street one block over from DeArmond. Now, that's an idea. That's in that PowerPoint we still working on, but that's one, like, would y'all think that'd be something that we'd like to look at?
We are getting a resounding nodding of the head and thumbs up. Yes, that's good.
Madam
And so-
Chair,
Go ahead, yeah.
I was gonna say, those are the type of things that we've been thinking through, because not throwing money at it. I mean, I know you'd love to see a speed bump there, but it's not helpful if the speed bump is costing the city $20,000, $30,000 between vehicles that we're ruining because we're going over speed humps and they're trying to dispatch to emergency spots. That's not, we're pouring out money to put a speed hump there, and then we are also costing our emergency dispatch vehicles damage in other spaces, and we're still not truly remediating the problem. So that idea is kind of where we've been treading water to try to determine what it is that we can reallocate the traffic pattern as a whole. Because even when you, like, I think somebody said over here, when you get one street taken care of, then they just move to another street and speed down that street. So the whole area has to be under
Sure.
consideration. to
Absolutely,
do
I
what's
agree.
right.
Madam Chair.
I do also agree, though, those conversations that are happening, this is the first, I believe this committee has heard that this is what the administration is considering. And so what I want to do is that I don't want this to live in silos. I want us to collaborate and work together so that we can better serve the residents of North College Hill. And if this is something that administration and our PD are currently working on to make that a one-way, then let's examine those calls to what it would incur. But what I don't want to do, and I've said it 3 or 4 times and a 5th time now, I don't want us just to sit and just think about these ideas and nothing happens. If we want to make one-ways on Center Ridge and coming off of Maryland, if we don't want bump outs, if we don't want speed bumps, we need to do something, not just on Center Ridge, but in the city that encourages residents to slow all the way down, because Chief Cheney said it, we cannot ticket our way out of this. Go ahead, Mayor Nichols.
I just wanted to just make it known that when I initially said that is something temporary until we
Yes.
get a
Right.
fix. I don't know if that was stressed at the beginning of it.
Absolutely. And now, maybe that was not misunderstood, but that is correct. The recommendations for the bump outs or for the speed bumps or humps is only temporary. It's not going to cost us $20,000 to put something in temporarily. I think we might even have maybe we have some additional funding elsewhere that can potentially support this, where the city is not having a cost for this. I think what we are saying is that, and I thank Mayor Nichols so much for being in alignment with this, we have to do something. And so I'm charging you, Ms. Dukestein, to the research. I have all of the notes here. You were here at the meeting to present this information, gather it together, and then come back to this committee so that before the kids go back to school, we can have something in place. Before this summer is over, we can say we have come together, not just council, not just administration, and not just PD, but we as a city have come together to strengthen the safety of North College Hill.
Do you know when the date of your next
Yep, the first,
first Monday?
second Monday in July. Yes, sir, because we are now on summer session.
So the 13th.
Yes, sir, and I hope that you're able to make it. I hope Ms. Dukestein gives you, you're always welcome, sir. You, and if you're not able to make it, anyone from your command staff, you are always welcome. We cannot do this independently. We cannot work independently in our silos. We need you all a part of this conversation, sir.
Madam Chair.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
do have one last comment. One is I just wanted to make sure we clarified the $20,000-$30,000 that I was referring to isn't us spending money to put the speed hump down. It is us spending money to rectify or remediate vehicles that are being impacted, our emergency vehicles that belong to us by different things that have happened around the city. I don't know if you got, well, I won't go there, but the other additional thing that I would say is at the point in which we have a couple of buckets and we need council to push through legislation, that is the idea around when we would bring these things forward. Other than that, it's not a finance issue. We don't need reallocation administratively. We have the dollars in the budget to be able to put things, places to make sure that we slow the speeding down. It is how, the process on how we do it is where we've been struggling.
Sure, sure. And I'm glad that today we had this evening, we've had this healthy conversation, and I do want to respect everyone's time. I think that we have our request from this committee to you, Ms. Dukesteen. I thank those who have come from the audience. I thank those who are here on the committee, and I thank our administration, our police chief, and all of those who are watching online. This conversation, we have to address it. It may feel uncomfortable, but that's only temporary, because when we look 6 months down the line, 9 months, 12 months down the line, and we can say, look what we've done, because we came together and fixed a problem. It will allow North College Hill to shine bright, and that's really why I'm here as an elected official. So thank you. We are adjourning at 8:21 p.m.